and remove the portion of outer sheath and the armor. From the edge of the armor, mark 10 mm and remove the inner sheath to reveal the 3 cores and the fillers. Do this carefully to avoid any nick to the metallic foil underneath. Remove the fillers and space out the 3 cores. Solder the copper binding wire on the metal tape shield of 1 core about 100 mm from the end of inner sheath. Ensure that the free ends of the copper binding wire extend up to the armor wires. Install the remaining copper binding wire on the other 2 cores in the same way. Mark a length of 65 mm on the outer sheath from the cutback and expose the armor. Insert the backup ring under the exposed armor. Extend the fixed copper binding wire down towards the wire armor for main earthing arrangement. Wrap 1 layer of copper braiding around the armor with minimum 30 mm overlapping. Also insert copper binding wire under this assembly. Tighten the complete assembly with Jubilee clamps. The remaining copper braided strip should be taken out for connection to the earth point. Wrap 2 layers mastic sealing tape over the earthing assembly and sharp edges if any. Mark 150 mm from the edge of the inner sheet and carefully remove the metal foil. Mark 25 mm from the edge of metal foil and remove the semiconductor screen to expose the XLPE insulation. Use alloxide tape provided in the kit for polishing the insulation over the wire core. Then cover 10 mm of insulation and 5 mm of the extruded semiconducting screen with stress control paint. Apply silicone grease on the exposed portion of the core insulation. Insert stress control tube over 1 core at 20 mm over the metallic foil. Proceed to insert the stress control tubing on the remaining 2 cores one after the other. Using a blowtorch, start shrinking the tube from the lower end and proceed upwards. Ensure that the tube is shrunk uniformly and is free from voids and wrinkles. Insert the breakout over the cores and pull it down into the crutch as far as possible. Shrink the breakout into place starting at the center. Work first towards the lower end and then shrink the fingers onto the cores. Insert the red, non-tracking, heat-shrinkable, weather-resistant tubes one over each core and push it down to overlap fingers of the breakout. Shrink the tubes together up to the lower end of the stress control tubes. Thereafter, shrink the tubes one after the other. Then, friction cut the XLPE insulation to expose the conductor. Insert the first polymeric rain shed skirt and position it 150 mm below the top of the stress control tubes. Position the second skirt at a distance of 100 mm below the top of the stress control tubes and shrink it in place. Repeat the same process on the other 2 cores. Put the terminal lugs on the conductor and crimp it with the applicable die. Cover the exposed XLPE insulation and the terminal lug with the help of self-vulcanizing insulating tape. Place the heat shrink lug sleeve over the crimped lug barrel in a way that it overlaps the lug barrel and heat shrinkable tube and shrink it. Yamuna Denson's heat-shrinkable outdoor termination for 3-core XLPE insulated cable is now complete.